No, that's just the way things go. We have things that pop up on a daily basis that we just need to analyze, we need to look into, and other things where we just have to kind of breathe in, breathe out, and say this is something that we have to come to terms with because it's just part of the society that we live in. And well, a lot of things like that actually happen, and they all fall onto our laps at very different times where we may or may not be prepared. But at the end of the day, as long as we give our little understanding of it and our analysis, I think we won't be worse for wear when it comes to that. When it comes to coalition governments, Economic Freedom Fighters leader Julius Malema said the coalition talks with the ANC collapsed after they failed to reach a consensus on key pillars. The party has been giving an update on Tuesday on its negotiations with several parties. The EFF received 10.31% of the national vote at the recent local government elections, which places it in a strategic kingmaker position in some municipalities. Malema said the final straw that caused the ANC, or the collapse in talks with the ANC, was the party's failure to discuss cardinal pillars of the EFF. What broke the deal with the EFF and ANC is that they were not bringing anything to the positions. No issues. We want issues on the table that are going to resolve problems of all South Africans. But in a letter seen by the Eyewitness News, the ANC said it wished to explore a possible partnership with the Red Berets due to the areas of commonality between the parties. Malema, however, said they would work to destabilize the ANC across the country. There is no way the EFF is going to vote with the ANC. We are going to disrupt them and teach them a lesson. The EFF is not voting with anyone in Gqeberha. We are not going to vote with any racist either. He has accused the ANC of bringing juniors to the coalition negotiations and prioritizing its own interest. It's getting heated up as tomorrow's deadline looms. In Johannesburg, the Patriotic Alliance has emerged as one of the biggest winners in the coalition negotiations between smaller parties and the ANC and DA. The Patriotic Alliance this week signed a power-sharing agreement with the ANC, which will see it given near total control of the Karoo Hoogland municipality. The EFF, meanwhile, has said it won't work with the ANC in any municipality, and the DA is seeking legally binding coalition agreements. The parties only have a few more days to finalize coalition agreements before the constitutional deadline to elect the council. Going back, 3 more suspects are set to appear before the Pretoria Specialized Crime Court on Wednesday this morning, on the 17th, in connection with the VBS Mutual Bank scandal. A former municipal manager of the Fetaghomo Greater Tubatse municipality, a former chief financial officer, and a private business owner were arrested by the Hawks on Tuesday at their residences in Pretoria. They're allegedly involved in investing municipal funds to the tune of 230 million rand with the now collapsed bank between 2016 and 2018. The trio faces charges of corruption, money laundering, and contravention of the Municipal Finance Management Act, the MFMA. These latest arrests come just months after 3 former West Rand District Municipality employees were also handcuffed as part of an ongoing investigation into the VBS bank heist. They have been implicated in financial deposits made to the bank by municipalities on the West Rand. According to the Hawks, approximately 20 municipalities deposited about 3.7 billion rand into VBS Mutual Bank. A total of 2.2 billion was repaid to the municipalities, while 1.5 billion is lost or either unpaid. Some of the lost funds, amounting to 67 million rand, were allegedly paid as brokerage commissions to entities and individuals to attract more deposits from municipalities. This nationwide investigation has revealed that VBS employees, municipal executives, and other officials received gratification for investments made, said Hawks spokesperson Colonel Katlego Mogale. A report commissioned by the South African Reserve Bank found more than 50 people unduly received payments from the bank. In March 2018, the Minister of Finance was appointed as the bank's curator after a criminal complaint was laid. The scam was hatched on the 4th of July 2017 when the Board of Directors for VBS approved financial statements for the year ending 31 March 2017, making VBS to look richer while it was in fact insolvent. The financial statement was shockingly inflated. Continuing with politics, with the deadline for council-elect mayors and speakers drawing closer, there is still no certainty on who will be governing and whom in the major metros in Gauteng and in Nelson Mandela Bay. Some possibilities, though, and particularly the prospect of an ANC-EFF coalition, have now been removed. It is to be expected that politicians and parties will try to use the positions they currently have for any kind of advantage. It's also possible that the parties will behave in a more strategic fashion as they have their sights on 2024. The stakes in the national elections are incredibly high. On Tuesday, the last major variable, which may have led to the stable working conditions, coalitions with comfortable majorities in the councils was removed. EFF leader Julius Malema confirmed that he was no longer negotiating with the ANC about the coalition in the South African councils and metros. As the only other combination which could have created comfortable majorities are already removed from the equation, the DA, just after the election, it would not work with the ANC. There is no prospect of grand coalition with just the two parties. This leaves on the table only coalitions of smaller parties that will have a much smaller majorities or will try to govern in minority administrations, and even the possibilities are limited. The DA has consistently refused to talk to the EFF. The FF Plus will not work with the EFF, while Herman Mashaba's action essay said he also walked away from the EFF. As Malema put it, while he is prepared to talk to Mashaba, he appeared to have left the team at the negotiating table. All of this carries risk. When political parties engage with each other to discuss possible coalitions, they normally do so behind closed doors. We often have to rely on parties themselves for information about why these talks have failed. But these are parties that are contesting amongst themselves for power, and thus they cannot be trusted, especially with the 2024 around the corner. On Tuesday, Malema claimed that one of the reasons he broke off negotiations with the ANC was because they were not saying anything on the deal. They just insisted on talking positions and not issues. But a document sent by the ANC to the AFF and signed by the ANC Deputy Secretary Jesse Duarte clearly states, in entering any form of partnership, the ANC will take the following factors into consideration. The factors include a party committed to transformation, a party that will ensure the administration executes its tasks without patronage and corruption, and a party that is committed to no racial, gender equity, and youth empowerment. This may indicate Malema has not been entirely truthful. It is entirely possible that parties will lie about the actions of the other parties during these negotiations simply because any advantage is so important to capturing the votes. It is back to the drawing board for the former Deputy Provincial Commissioner for the Detectives in the Western Cape, Jeremy Veery. This after an arbitrator in the Safety and Security Sectoral Bargaining Council upheld his dismissal from the SAPS. He was dismissed in May last year after he was accused of making posts on his personal Facebook profile, which constituted disrespect and brought National Commissioner of the SAPS into disrepute. The arbitrator ruled his dismissal was substantively fair and ordered the file to be closed. Veery claims the ruling is not biased on evidence or not based on evidence and will appeal. That said, we shall continue. Off to Johannesburg, the video footage of Len Kluter getting shot by the SAPS in Muldersdrift has proved to be divisive. Many onlookers have slammed the cops for failing to manage the situation better, but the tide may be turning. That's because two separate organizations have issued statements that support the police officer who fired the gun at the suspect. Len Kluter took a bullet to the head after he initially disarmed one of the SAPS officials at the site. The cops were called to the guest house in Muldersdrift, where the staff reported the gym owner for his erratic behavior. When police entered his room, tensions boiled over and Kluter goaded the officers to shoot him. Sadly, one of them did, and the Pretoria-based resident fell into a coma as a result of his injuries. But despite Len Kluter's life hanging in the balance, the police sergeant who pulled the trigger quite literally received some backup. Police union Pop Crew issued a statement saying that the cop in question acted justifiably when his life was put in danger. Spokesperson Richard Mamabolo went into bat for his colleague. Meanwhile, the civil rights group Not In My Name also expressed sympathy for the officer who shot Len Kluter. In a post shared to Facebook, they branded the suspect as arrogant and aggressive and accused him of assaulting multiple SAPS officials. They also provided a roundup of fateful moments leading up to the incident. The guest was requested to leave with a refund, which he refused to do. That is why the police were called. He was very arrogant and aggressive. He was swearing at members of staff. On arrival, Len Kluter's room, he assaulted one of the officers by punching him and also assaulted another cop in the same manner. He then went to the drawer next to his bed, pulled a firearm and cocked it. When he cocked it, a bullet fell out. Kluter proceeded to grab the gun from the police officer's holster. During the process, the retention cord cut the arm of the member of the law, and the member's gun was in the possession of the suspect. A sergeant then pulled his firearm, and shot the suspect once in the head. That video, as shocking as it is, it tells the whole story. Well, from the time of the face-to-face engagements. But when you hear how it all started, really, there was no need for such aggression and things from the guest, who now is being touted by some people as a victim, which I do not believe was the case. Finally, South Africa has declared 4 days of national mourning after the death of November 11th of its last white president, Frederick de Klerk, who remains a controversial figure in the country despite his role in dismantling the apartheid system. In an unexpected speech to Parliament in February 1990, de Klerk announced the release of the regime's number one enemy, Nelson Mandela, and the legalization of his party, the African National Congress, and other parties fighting the segregationist system, paving the way for the end of white rule and the country's democratic transition. A national mourning will be observed from Wednesday evening to Sunday evening. The national flag will be flown at half-mast as a mark of respect, announced the Office of the President, Cyril Ramaphosa. A private funeral is planned for Sunday. An official commemoration will be held and the date yet to be determined. The death of F.W. de Klerk at 85 years old has generated mixed reactions in South Africa, with some criticizing the Nobel Peace Prize winner, whom he received jointly with Mandela in 1993, for never having made a full apology for the crimes of apartheid. In a posthumous video released a few hours after his death, the former president attempts to correct this impression and apologizes unreservedly for the pain, suffering, indignity, and damage that apartheid inflicted. There's a lot that happens, huh? There's a whole lot that happens. Anyway, in our current affairs, and at 27 minutes before 10 o'clock, that is Moment.